All right, the 2026 FIFA World Cup is still continuing, and of course, we've seen some couple of results that came on board in the 2026 FIFA World Cup in the second round of group games that is still ongoing, the competition. And we saw the United States of America beating Australia by 2 goals to nil. And Morocco, the Atlas Lions, won their second group game. And it seems so far, two games from the African contingent, no team has lost. That Bafana of South Africa, after drawing 1-1 with Czech Republic, the Atlas Lions of Morocco defeated Scotland by a goal to nil. And of course, who else? Ismail Saibari scored his second goal in the competition, taking a pass from Ibrahim Diaz, like how it happened in the first game against Brazil. And there is quite a refreshing result on the part of the Atlas Lions of Morocco. And Turkey also lost by a goal to nil against Paraguay, and Brazil having a 3-0 emphatic win against Haiti. Of course, let's begin with the United States of America. They are a very good team, and of course, to me, they are one of the sides who have really impressed me in the competition so far, even though the tournament is not quite old in terms of the number of games that have been played so far, but they showed tremendous quality, good play, extensive play in terms of how they string their passes together and how the players show their relevance in the competition, how they impose their presence. The like of Christian Pulisic following Balogun, even though he didn't score, but he displayed a wonderful performance. Christian Pulisic was placed on the bench for Ricardo Pepi to start, but Weston McKennie, the likes of Tyler Adams, Malik Tillman has been one of the revelations of the tournament so far. Alex Freeman, the son of Michael Freeman, former NFL superstar of Green Bay Packers, scored the second goal of the United States after the Australians conceded an own goal courtesy Burgess, and that ensured that the United States of America won by 2 goals to nil in the second group game. And what it means is the United States of America have joined Mexico as part of the contingent or teams that have booked their spot into the next stage of the competition, which is the round 32 stage. So far, no co-host has lost a game in the competition. Mexico have played 2 games, they won all, beating South Africa by 2 goals to nil, beating South Korea by a goal to nil. And of course, Canada played a goalless draw against Bosnia-Herzegovina, a 1-1 draw against Bosnia-Herzegovina. And of course, they won by 6 goals to nil in that game against Qatar. And we saw the United States of America beating Paraguay in their first game by 4 goals to 1. And of course, they defeated the Australian team by 2 goals to nil. So what it means is no co-host have lost a game. So with the last game of Canada, if they're able to secure a draw, what it means is they will join their fellow co-host in the next stage of the competition. But Morocco came with a splendid result, and that was quite another one. Even though some might say Morocco should be expected to have beat Scotland by some couple of 2 or 3 goals, but the most important thing is that is needed is just to get a win, grind a win, make sure you protect your result. And I'm really impressed with the Moroccan setup. They seem to play with a lot of confidence and new backline. I mean, especially in the centre back, the likes of Chadi Riyad and Osman and Issa Diop of Fulham. But they've displayed wonderful performance so far. Creditably, Ashraf Hakimi and Nusrai Mazraoui have been so wonderful in the competition. Ayub Buadi was quite quiet in the game, but at least he was quite okay. I mean, Nel Ainoui, Bilal El Hanous, who also started within the game, Azedine Unai, and of course Ismail Saibari. Sofian Rahimi came in the second half, I mean, alongside the likes of Montasser Talbi. But the game was quite good for the Moroccan set. The likes of John McGinn tried as much as possible, Scott McTominay, I mean, Shea Adams, but it was quite unfortunate on the part of the Scottish team. Yes, the game, Steve Clarke, the coach of Scotland, went with a 3-back. I mean, introducing Nathan Patterson for the first time in 3 years. I mean, giving him a game, his debut in 3 months, that 3 years, because it's been 3 years since he played a game for Scotland. I mean, the likes of Andy Robertson and Grant Hanley at the back line, Scott McTominay, John McGinn with Jay Adams leading the attack. But they were quite jittery in the first half. They let the Moroccans to dictate the pace, to display a wonderful performance in the first half. But in the second half, the Scottish team came very strongly, but it was quite unfortunate for them. They lost the game against Morocco. So now Morocco is now having 4 points within the group. So what it means is they can also count their chances of making it into the next stage of the competition. Turkey this morning lost by a goal to nil. But before we talk about Turkey, let's begin with Brazil in that order. And Brazil won by 3 goals to nil emphatically. Matheus Cunha scoring a brace, joining the group of players who have had a brace or more in the same group game in the World Cup so far. We've seen Harry Kane, we've seen the likes of Erling Haaland, Lionel Messi, Kylian Mbappe, Florian Balogun. These are the kind of players who, Ayari of Scotland, of Sweden rather. These are the players who have scored 2 goals or more within a single game in the competition. And Matheus Cunha this morning joined the crop of setup of those guys, and wonderfully he scored 2 goals for Brazil. And Vinicius Jr. also had his second goal in the competition, and that was quite good for the Brazilians, even though all the goals came in the first half, and that was good enough to ensure that Brazil beat Haiti by 3 goals to nil. So Brazil are also having 4 points on the group table so far. They lead on the group table based on superior goal advantage that they have over the Moroccans. And I fancy Brazil going to the next stage of competition. Their last game in the group is going to be against Scotland. And Turkey are probably, or I can say mathematically, out of the competition so far, because they lost by 2 goals to nil in their first group game against Australia. And this morning again, they lost by Paraguay. Salazar of Atlanta United scored the only goal of their game, even though Miguel Almiron was shown the red card, which was quite unfortunate on the part of the Paraguayans. But the Paraguayans were quite resolute. The likes of Junior Caceres at the back line, Cesar Gomez, Omar Aldarete of Sunderland, they were so wonderful. Even though in the second half, the Turkish came strongly, the likes of Yilmaz up in the attack, the likes of Ada Gule, Mary Demiral came with an header, which was quite unfortunate. Just a tip going to the net, but he couldn't find, the ball wasn't fine at the back of the net. Chalkan Çalhanoğlu was also imposing his presence in the game and during the second half, but it's quite unfortunate for the Turkish team. They couldn't grind the results needed. And the Turkish team have some couple of good players, but it was quite unfortunate that someone might say they've disappointed in this World Cup. Having the likes of Kenan Yildiz of Juventus, Mary Demiral, formerly of Juventus, who is now with Al Ahly in the Saudi Pro League. Ada Gula of Real Madrid. You talk about Yildiz of Yilmaz of Galatasaray. Fedi Kadioglu of Brighton and Hove Albion. Hakan Çalhanoğlu, the captain of Inter Milan. So the Turkish team have some couple of decent players, but it was quite unfortunate that they disappointed in the competition so far after making their return since 2002. After 2 group games in the World Cup that Turkey have played in Group D, they've lost all, and mathematically, they and Haiti are probably out of the competition. So we just start counting on the teams that are going to be last. So far, Group C have seen Haiti, and Group D have seen Turkey. So mathematically, these teams don't have any chance of making it into the next stage of the competition. Maybe, let's see. It's not entirely totally, but mathematically, their chances of getting into the next stage of the competition is quite down. Let's see what happens in the subsequent games for the other groups. So as we're counting, what it means is if you have 3 points in a group, even before the end of the group's second round of group games, a country can secure a qualification or a spot into the next stage of the competition. This has been the podcast channel with Alan. Thank you.